Well, hello everybody, I'm L.A. Little. This is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets, we do it from a neoclassical perspective, each time asking ourselves, what happened today? What does it tell us about the coming ones? Do the show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday, broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube. It's under the channel L.A. Little. Of course, with this being Thursday, it's the last show of the week. Tomorrow, Janet Yellen takes the stand, and the stand in a not a literal sense, but she's going to be speaking tomorrow. The last time she was up on deck, she talked about prices being a bit overvalued in these markets. I'm very curious to see what she wants to say tomorrow. As far as overvalued, well, if they were then, they certainly are now because they keep going up. We had the strength in the NDX that spilled over into composite. Elsewhere, it was pretty much flat, not much happening. Russell down a little bit. If you look elsewhere, gold down, dollar down, and then you had a pretty good push in oil today. Bonds finally got that big bounce again. Bonds look like they want to try to go higher finally. They've tried to push them down, They just can't keep them down. They look like they're going to get their bounce finally. So let's look at these charts. Last evening when we were talking about them, we talked about the S&P 500, and we said, has an over-under, and it really wasn't an extended move, so that said, there's a decent chance this would try to push down. Well, down it did a whole 1/10%. Tonight, if you look at this, volume a little bit heavier today than yesterday, just slightly, but it's an inside bar. You didn't get to the high, you didn't get to the low. Doesn't do a thing for the trade here in terms of what it's going to do. I look at this and say, okay, this is still in effect. The bar before. Nothing else has happened today, nothing to tell me anything. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to do what we were supposed to do today, and that is it's push lower. Now, I could take the optimistic side and say, hey, it's tested into this swing point high twice and it's held, or actually 3 times and it's held. You could take it from that point of view and say, okay, that's bullish. And, it may be. But I think tonight, if you look at this and you look elsewhere, you're going to probably have the same conclusion that I do, and that might not be the case. So let's go over to the NASDAQ. So we go to the composite. And now the composite, the top yesterday was 50.97.52. Where did we get to today? 50.98.23. Last night, this had traded more volume than the day before. That didn't give us an over-under. Tonight you get the over-under. You got the less volume. You go over it. You trade back under it. You stay under it. That now is in harmony with what we saw on the SPX, and which is still in effect on the SPX. If we go to the NASDAQ, the NDX 100, what does it do? Exactly the same thing. A little lighter volume, showing the exact same story. Russell. Now the Russell, slightly different. 1260.83 yesterday, 1261.02 today. Does slightly more volume today and another doji. So now the Russell is the only one that's out of line, so to speak now. And, it goes over, under, has a little bit more volume. And so that one is the odd man out as of tonight. But we've got 3 of the 4 saying, hey, it looks like we might want to get a little pullback here. I didn't have a chance to go through everything, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to flip through some charts here, and we'll take them one by one and see what they look like. I want to pop through the sectors. Here's IBB. What is it doing? So biotech's coming into the breakdown bar, struggling. Big, strong move all the way back up. Absolutely no volume. That's a failure. 2 days running now on that high, it looks like. Top was 65.21. You got over it. You got over it. You close under it both days. That looks like a failure. ITB. This one looks like it's this one doesn't tell me anything. It looks like it actually could trade higher. Transports. They were trying to break down yesterday. They go under, back over today. Amazing. So they go under, they break two swing point lows on volume, right? Tonight, they go under, back over, right? Which says that they can bounce a little bit more and come back in to do the retest regen. So rather than breaking down, these things are still holding. Let's see if it regenerates lower, because on a longer term time frame, this is still breaking this swing point low. If it closes down here tomorrow, we got 2.9 and you had 3.4. It's probably going to have the volume. If you close under it, it's a break on the intermediate term time frame, and we haven't seen one of these break in quite a while. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but it definitely would be a negative. The materials, that one is just hanging. That one still looks okay. Socks, semis. Okay, now the semis finally get over the breakdown bar. That high was 97.12. They close over it tonight. So tomorrow's a big day here. If you're bearish, you want to see this fall tomorrow. You don't want to see it stay up here. Energy stocks, a big rally in oil today, and these guys move up almost 1% after a slow roll. That one can move back up a little bit more, and then it's going to hit problems up there. XLF, remember these were trying to break out, and they roll back over. Let's look at what the weekly looks like. Never quite got to the top, did it? 25.14 got to 25.06. So that one's still in play. That one still can go up and test the top. XLI still hanging at the highs up here on the daily. That still looks okay. XLK also looks okay. Still testing the highs. The consumer durables, that one also looks okay. I don't see anything wrong there. XLU. So that one looks like it's failing on the breakdown bar. So that break tested yesterday, tested again today. That looks like that one's going to come back. XLV. And XLV is over this swing point high, and that one still can test higher too. And let's finally look at the consumer discretionary, and really nothing happening here. You've got a big volume off the top type bar, not volume off the top, wide price spread bar on the way down. So this one can go back up and test as well. So that, if I look at most of the sectors, they're really, other than the IYT and that's about it really. XLU and IYT are the only ones, and the IBB, the biotechs, look like they probably are failing up here. Let's go over and look at the ox market. So yesterday we saw the dollar pushing up. And if we look at the dollar the last 2 days, and if we look at the dollar today, it's another doji. Now this is a tri-star doji. That's kind of interesting. I haven't seen that form in a while, although it is on a currency which trades overnight. There are many who live by these types of formations. I don't really take it that seriously. The failure here isn't the tri-star doji, in my opinion. The failure is this test yesterday. That gave us the pullback today. I expect we're going to see more pullback into this area to some degree. So this looks like backing and filling off that swing point high. The bottom of that bar there is where I'd be looking for at least some sort of a pullback test. And that it happens to be a tri-star doji, well, that's cool, but I don't think that pattern fulfills that often, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I wouldn't get too excited about it. It's just you don't see them very often. They don't come around that often. Let's look at the euro, because the currencies really are the big deal here. So the euro tested into the big bar, held, and again, almost like a tri-star doji here the other way. And this also looks like it's going to hold and try to push higher. Let me look at the yen, because the Japanese market has been at highs. The yen got a little bounce today. Really nothing special there after a big sell-off again. If you don't believe these currencies are driving these markets, look at this sell-off, and then go in a minute. We'll go look at the not the currency, but the yen. The Nikkei, well, look at the Nikkei, right? Nikkei shot up on the currency pullback, and that's the relationship that you really should be looking at these and thinking about. Let's see about bonds right quick. So bonds got their big bounce today. They had that bounce back here, then they sold right back down, and in 2 days they tried to press them down, right? They got under it, then they held it. Today you get the bounce back, and you actually got some volume coming in again today. Question is this just short covering like it was back here, or is it something more? Bonds to me look like they want to push higher. So as we talk about, you know, these things, you try to put them in place in your mind. Okay, so if bonds want to go up, that says that Yellen is going to be, she's not going to be pressing for or telling the market that rates are going to, you know, go up tomorrow, for example. But if she is going to say something that, you know, pushes interest rates higher, then of course this read is wrong. So you have to think that whatever she's going to say isn't going to be about rates are going to go up. Because if that were the case, I don't think this would look like it does. If I look at the dollar, dollar looks like it wants to come back. Well, why would the dollar come in, again, thinking about what Yellen may say? You know, the dollar is going to get stronger if we're going to push interest rates up. It's going to come in if you don't. So if she doesn't really say anything about interest rates tomorrow, then you would think this could push higher, the dollar could pull in, and you would think that that in general would probably help the markets. The last time she spoke, though, she talked about valuations being too high. So what if she talks about valuations again tomorrow and talks about more specifically that they're, you know, beyond where they probably should be? Well, there you might actually see the sell-off in the equities and at the same time see bonds lift and the dollar fall. I mean, it could all fit in that way, and so it's, you know, as I said at the top of the show, I'm really curious to see what she comes out and actually does say. Let's look at real quick here the world markets, because that's another big piece in this. We'll start with that Japanese market, the Nikkei, since we were just talking about it. And the yen, remember, pulled back 5 days straight. Well, what does the Japanese market do? It soars 5 days straight. That yen gets to the bottom of the range. What does this do? Gets to the top of the range. It's in conjunction, folks. And this is 2 days in a row now that it fails at that high. This is going to retrace. The yen's going to bounce some. And, you know, that's where that market is. If I look at Taipei before we go to China, Taipei back down here testing again this low. I still can't explain what happened here. You know, big volume surge higher, and then you just give it all away straight away. Takes more days, but you just give it all away. If anything, this tells me that all these markets are still range bound. Let's look at Shanghai. Shanghai went up, pushing to the highs. That top was 45.70, got to 45.30, closes at the highs. Don't have the volume. This looks like it's going to test the highs tonight and probably fail. Let's look at the Hong Kong market, HSI. If we look at that one's still range bound. Let's go to Europe. And again, remember, the euro is probably going to work higher, the dollar lower. If that's true, Europe's probably going to see a pullback. It's at a point where it wants to do that. That's what we see here on the DAX. And if we look at the CAC actually, it hasn't shown it yet, but the CAC is now back into the bearish retest regen zone. Had decent economic data out today on the CAC that helped push it up a little bit higher. It did get over this breakdown bar. It's got another one up here, and then of course all the way up here was the first breakdown bar, which defines that zone. This one, again, there's no volume. It's comatose out here as we head towards the Memorial Day weekend on Monday. So tomorrow trading, Monday, markets are closed here in the U.S. I suspect you're going to see not much activity unless Yellen pulls a fast one on this market. How are they set up? Well, my conclusion here after looking at them is that it does appear to me that these markets are set up still to try to come back in some. How big? Still can't answer that. but it is set up that way. Let me pull up this index one more time. So the S&Ps, I think you have to say the bullish retest region zone is what you're looking at, right? And if you come back within 6 bars, which we have, if this does start to retrace, you have this one little area up here that may hold, but if it doesn't, it probably comes all the way back down into here. Comes into these bars. So that would be the ideal spot. If it does and holds, that's what, about 2109, somewhere in that area. All right, folks, I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for joining me. Tell a friend. Tell two. We do offer referrals, benefits for referrals, and if I'm helping you, I probably can help somebody else So let them know I'm out here. Through your help, we can grow this business and provide more help to more people, and that's really what it's all about. Have a great one. Take care. Good night.